Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Saturday. Hopefully I will see all of you that are within driving distance tonight at SWA Wrestling. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Bell time is 7 o'clock. 244 Livestock Road, Easton Nolly, Georgia. But today, I want to preview another college football team's 2024 football schedule. Now, up until today, every team that I've picked in the last 3 years of doing this is always random. But this time, there's actually a reason why I picked the team I picked. There's a golf tournament that started on a Thursday, one of those celebrity tournaments going on in Greenville, South Carolina, and I was reading about it. And one of the famous people that's in the golf tournament is Larry the Cable Guy. And first of all, Larry the Cable Guy is the only funny stand-up comedian ever because stand-up comedy sucks. But secondly, he is a huge Nebraska fan. So when I was reading about Larry the Cable Guy being in that tournament, I said, you know what? I need to talk about his Cornhuskers. If I'm not mistaken, he still lives in the Lincoln, Nebraska area. But Nebraska, under Matt Rhule, I believe they're headed in the right direction. I know a lot of people look at Matt Rhule's time in Charlotte with the Panthers as a failure, and it was. There's no other way around it. You can't put it nicely. It sucked. It was awful. It was really bad. It was horrendous. But there's been other collegiate coaches that coached in the NFL and it didn't work. So it's not like he's the first one. Plus, I believe had the general manager given him time, it would have worked. Matt Rhule wanted to fix the defense, and the general manager wanted to fix the offense. And when you've got a head coach going one direction and a general manager going another direction, it's not going to work. But the only evidence you need is that they had Christian McCaffrey, who was hurt all the time, and the Panthers finally said, you know what? If you can't play, we don't need you. So they ship him to San Francisco, and I don't think he's been hurt since then. But last year at quarterback, Nebraska, I believe, started either 4 or 5 different quarterbacks, and most of them were turnover machines on offense. The guy they ended up finishing out the season with really couldn't throw the ball 20 yards, but the offense looked better when he played. They didn't turn the ball over as much. When he played, they looked more crisp when he played. But this year they're going to have Dylan Raiola, whatever you want to call him, and I don't think he's near as good as he was picked as coming out of high school. He's not no 5-star quarterback, but he's definitely better than anything Nebraska had last year. But they open up the season on August 31st against UTEP. Then they have Colorado on September 7th. And then they have Northern Iowa on September 14th. And we know in the Big Ten you play 9 conference games. So Nebraska's 3 non-conference games are out of the gate. And then they'll play 9 straight conference games. They start conference play the following Friday night on September 20th against Illinois. Then they wrap up the month of September on the 28th against Purdue. Then they open up October on the 5th against Rutgers. And then they have their first bye week. Coming back on October 19th, they play Indiana. October 26th, Ohio State. And that wraps up the month of October. Opening up November on the 2nd against UCLA. And then they have their second bye week. On November 16th, they play USC. On the 23rd of November, they play Wisconsin. And then, just like every year, they wrap up the regular season the Friday after Thanksgiving on the 29th against their arch rival, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, Nebraska's offense last year under Marcus Satterfield was decent. It wasn't great, but you really can't do a whole lot when your quarterbacks are fumbling and throwing picks like crazy. So I do expect some improvement this year, but I don't think they're going to be a juggernaut that's going to score 40 points a game. That's not going to happen. But I expect their defense to be really, really good. But outside of Ohio State, they avoided Michigan and they avoided Penn State. So that's very good for them. And there's a possibility, there's a chance that when they play Ohio State, they're 7-0. But I don't think they will be, because even though I think and I expect their offense to be better, I think Purdue is still going to be able to score more than they can. So I do think they'll lose to Purdue, but I think they'll beat UTEP. They'll beat Colorado. They'll beat Northern Iowa. They'll beat Illinois. They'll beat Rutgers, and they'll beat Indiana. So that still puts them at 6-1 going into the Ohio State game, which might have Nebraska on the verge of the top 10, which for Nebraska football, that's been a while. But I think they lose to the Buckeyes. I think they come back the following week, and I expect them to beat UCLA. But I think for Nebraska, the season falls apart after that, because after beating UCLA and improving to 7-2 and getting their second bye week, I expect them to come back and lose to USC, lose to Wisconsin, and lose to Iowa, which means they'll finish 7-5, with all 5 losses coming in the Big Ten. So 4-5 in the Big Ten, 7-5 overall. There's a chance they could beat Iowa. I don't expect Iowa to be great. We know by now that when Iowa and Nebraska play, the first team to 6 usually wins the game. But for whatever reason, that's one of those rivalries that, even though it's a rivalry most years, no matter how bad they are, Iowa finds a way to win that game. So until Nebraska can prove they can beat Iowa at least semi-consistently, I'll pick Iowa in that game every year. But if they do by some chance beat Iowa and finish 8-4, that's a really good season for Nebraska football. But even if they do finish 7-5, they're still showing signs of improvement, and you can't expect to bring Matt Rhule in and in 2 years' time be a top 10 team. That's unrealistic. If you think that, you're crazy. Those are unrealistic expectations, but I do think if they give Matt Rhule time, this team's going to be really, really good. So I've got them going 7-5 overall, 2024 Nebraska Cornhuskers. Any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I had a friend who was once a dog groomer, and I asked him one time, "How was your day?" And he said, "It was rough." And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.